What's up guys, Chef here from Riding Free. I've done something completely unusual and different. I put on some Thrashin T Bars and I'm going to take you guys along for the very first ride. So let's get going. Holy shit, that is all I can say. This is way different. Definitely going to have to take some getting used to. Hey, my hands are in a completely different position than they were before with my 12-inch fat bagger ape hangers. This is definitely going to take some getting used to for sure. I went with the Thrashin Supply 6.5-inch pullback risers and mid-bend bars. And I like this setup. It's almost kind of putting me more of a neutral riding position, which is kind of unusual. But my hands are kind of in a different spot. Obviously, they're straight across. My other handlebars kind of had to bend back a little bit, so my hands were in a different position. So definitely going to take some getting used to. But one of the things that I noticed right off the rip is the input into the handlebars is super responsive. The handlebars have definitely have a different performance feel to them, which is part of the reason why I went with the Thrashin Supply bars. And I'll tell that story in just a second, but trying to definitely feel in some of these turns, and it's way different. It's hard to describe unless you've made the switch. And obviously it's my first ride, so I'm not very used to it, but it's almost like I don't have to push as hard going into a corner, just simply because the bar response is different, which is super nice. And where I live, there's a lot of cool twisty roads, so we'll definitely have to check that out. And I'll definitely have to give you some feedback after I've been riding with these bars for a while. I'm getting ready to do a 2,000 mile up and back trip to Michigan, so that will definitely be a good telltale as to how they handle on a longer trip. Yeah, definitely going to have to get used to these. Just made a little bit of a wide turn just because I'm used to rounding that corner a certain way. And I didn't turn like I should have with these bars, so it was a little bit wide. It still stayed in my lane. I was a good boy, but definitely a different approach to riding and some cornering so far. Gotta spend some time getting used to it. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ride more so I get used to these bars, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Yeah, the input is just unreal. The responsiveness of these things is just super. I mean, I'm barely touching the bars and the bike is moving. So I told you I'd tell you the story about going to these bars. So I will be 100% honest with you. I've never been a fan of T-bars. I'm kind of an old school guy, so I like traditional handlebars. I like ape hanger handlebars. And that's what I had on my bike. The 12-inch fat bagger pointed handlebars. And I love the look of those handlebars. But I had problems with my hand going numb, just my right hand specifically, which I've never had before, but I've had that issue since I went with those bars. And they weren't too tall for me. I'm short, I'm 5'6", and the 12s I think were a great size for me personally, but it was unusual. I've never had that happen, so I figured I would look at doing something different. Well, I spend a lot of time watching YouTube, and lots of people had T-bars on their motorcycles, people that I follow. And Full Throttle Hog did a video on his Thrashin T-bars and the differences, and I really liked the look of the Thrashin bars. Thrashin, has a different look to it than some of the other T-bars that I've seen or had experience with. I've never liked some of the T-bars that I've seen, really tiny T-bars. I've ridden tons of bikes at the shop with T-bars on it before, and they weren't like this, so a little bit different. But when I saw the Thrashin Supply bars, I thought those looked pretty nice. And after watching that video on it, it started some thought process in my head, and looking at some different things and doing some research, and I decided I was gonna make the switch. So I did. I will tell you that I did the install myself. Putting the bars on and wiring the bars and stuff is not that difficult, but cutting the faceplate for the gauges was kind of a pain in the ass. And the pain in the ass is kind of my fault, per se. I did not have a Dremel tool when I first started doing it. My Dremel tool had burned up and I had not replaced it. So in the instructions that came from Thrashin, it said to use a coping saw, and I used a small mini hacksaw, but the saw part of itself would not fit in to the area where I was cutting, so I just had to use the blade, which honestly worked out fine, but it did hurt my hand. I got a boo-boo, an owie on my hand from the end of the blade, even with using like a towel and a glove. It did make a mark on my hand, so that was kind of a pain in the butt. I did end up getting another Dremel tool, which made life much easier. I don't know if it's just my specific bike. My 2016 may be a little bit different than some of the newer M8 bikes in the way that the gauge layout and everything is. The fit is the same, but it was kind of a pain to get in there and get a good look at it now while we're stopped here. So it was a little bit of a pain, but once we got that set, everything else was easy peasy, and they look good. I really like the look of them. I really like the feel of them. Normally when I ride, even going to work like I am now, normally my hand would still experience a little numbness, and I don't hold a death grip on the bike. So a lot of people talk about when your hand is going numb that you're holding too tight, and that's certainly not the case. But I would experience that numbness before I got up to where I'm at now. And I tell you, I don't have that, so that's a good sign. That I did see a lot of people making comments about was the road feel itself and maybe some increase in vibration. And I did not do the Thrashin top tree. I just did the bars with the road glide adapter. They are hard mount bushings. They are not like traditional bushings that are coated or surrounded by rubber, as were the ones that we took out of the bike. But I do not feel a lot of road vibration at all. I do feel the responsiveness of the bars themselves, but I don't have that vibration. So I think the top tree might be something maybe a little bit different, but like I said, I can't feel any increase in vibration. Looking at my mirrors, my GoPro, everything seems to be just like normal, no vibrations. I feel with the responsiveness of the bars that I feel the road better, if that makes any sense. But it's not like I'm getting a lot of like bumps or anything like that. So hard to describe. I guess if you've ridden a bike with T-bars like this on it before, you would understand that point, but it's just kind of hard to describe. So, but it seems to be really comfortable so far. I like where my arms are positioned at. My hands are just a little bit below my shoulders. I have a nice little bend in my elbow, but not too much. My hands feel good. So I think we're going to be okay. Now, I'm short. I know one of the things that a lot of people are concerned with going to T-bars is the ability to see things on your dash or your gauges. I can see my radio just fine, but I'm short, so looking at my speedo, I can see from 20 to 110, and I can see from about 8,000 RPMs all the way up to 80. So I do have a small amount of obstruction, but the area that I need to see is visible, and even at like lower speed, I think I'll be okay. I can see well enough for most of the places that I travel, and even including on the highway right now, that I can see where my speed is at, so I don't have to worry about traveling too quickly and get myself in trouble. So I think I'm good. I don't mind the little bit of obstruction, especially when you look down and see the Thrashin top clamp that says Made in America. Super cool. Man, I gotta tell you, the handling in the curves is pretty sweet. The bike is just so much more responsive. It's amazing. It's an amazing difference, even though my hands and my arms are kind of about the same position. It's very weird that seemingly a small change. I think my hands are probably about, I don't know, maybe a half inch or an inch lower, but being in a straight position with a straight bar, the change is just unreal. It is fantastic. It is almost like effortless pushing into some of these little sweeper corners here. They're definitely not very tight turns, but it's really almost effortless in the feeling of getting the bike over. Yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna like these. My first review on them is pretty sweet. I think I dig it. Like I said, just gonna take a little bit of getting used to, which is not a big deal. anytime you do anything that changes the way that your bike handles, it's going to take you a little bit to get used to. I mean, even something as simple as a seat can make the ride different, and it's something that you have to, you know, just spend some miles on the bike just getting accustomed to it. So I definitely think I will adjust quickly to it. It's not something that I don't like or say, well, I'm definitely going to have to, you know, try to like these. I really like them so far. Like I said, the handling and the responsiveness of the bike is just unbelievable, the difference. So I like that fact, and that's one of the reasons why I went to the bars. So it's definitely doing what I wanted it to do. So far, I like them. I would definitely recommend, if you're thinking about making the change. Just literally in the first 15 miles we've gone so far today, I'm a fan. I will probably do a nicer review at some point down the line once I get some more miles on these bars. I just don't think that I have enough time on them right now to give you a really adequate review on the bars. But I did want to take you guys with me on the first ride today, just so it was a very raw and real perspective on the feedback I was given. So hit that like and subscribe button, please, and thank you. If you are new here, I sincerely appreciate you stopping by. And if you are a returning viewer, I super appreciate you for coming back and spending some more time here. Leave a comment if you have any comments below about Thrashin and what you think, or maybe you're thinking about making the change. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you later. Be safe and enjoy when you're out riding. And don't forget to thank those that allow us to be out riding free. Until next time.